good morning, and good morning to you, everybody. Hey, how you doing? Charles here in the Good Morning Show. How is everybody doing? I know I had some rest last night. I had a lot of time to think. When we're here and we're in this situation, you have time to think. And what have you been thinking about? I know there's a lot of great leaders out there. And how is it to be a leader? Leadership, qualities. What are you looking for? Do you have what it takes? We're going to find out. We got a lot of stuff in store. So stay tuned. Don't go nowhere. Welcome to the Charles Matthews Show. Hey, you doing? Now, my next guest was on before, and we used to do a podcast on Jump. And I want to bring her in something a little different so you can actually see who she is, how she feels, and what she's been up to. So please welcome to the show, Karlene. How you there?
Hi. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How has this whole lockdown and COVID-19 been treating you?
Well, you know something, it's a little different. Every day I get to reflect and try something different and something new. So I can't complain on that. Just starting off and saying, okay, today I'm going to reflect on A, B, and C, what I've been up to, do some more, and then keep going from there. So I don't know, what have you been doing? Have you been studying? Have you been learning something new projects? What's going on?
I have been doing a whole lot of stuff. I have been reading a lot. I'm an avid reader anyway, but it gives me more time now to read. I have been connecting with people on a different level. The majority of my products and services are online anyway since 2018. So I didn't have to scramble to get my stuff online, which is a good thing. So I could relax in that regard, right? I'm a little bit ahead of the game with that one. But what I've been doing mostly is trying to reach out to people more on in my social media platforms. For example, last Thursday, I hosted a webinar, and my co-host was a lady that I met on LinkedIn. Her name is Veena, and she was all the way in Bangalore, India. So while it was 6:30 for us over here doing the webinar, it was 4 a.m. for her in India. And she came on, and she was just so, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and we just did a great job, I think. And so I've been connecting with people on that level to, to collaborate more on a global scale, as it says on my website, because I have a global footprint and I want to keep it that way.
So the question is, before we start, I always like to get to know the person. Now, like I said to everybody, if you go back to my podcast show, Jump, and then you're on there before, but I want to get to know you. So some people want to know, who are you? Where are you from? How'd you get into this, and what's your background?
Okay, my name is Karlene Millwood, as it says on the screen. I am originally from Jamaica. I migrated to Canada at the age of 17, fresh out of high school. And so I've been living here now going on 33 years. I joke a lot to say the only thing Jamaican left in me is probably how to cook the food, but there's a lot more than that. I do speak our language very fluently still, and I still have a lot of family members left there. And so I do go home as often as I possibly can, and I still refer to Jamaica as home. How did I get here? How did I get into leadership mentoring? I spent 2 decades in the corporate world. I worked in different segments of corporate, and I started off, as anybody else, I started off doing admin, but really I studied computer science. And so my background was in information technology for a number of years. As a matter of fact, the majority of my 20 years in corporate was spent working in information technology. And then I started off as a developer. They used to just call us programmers back then. Developer is the new, kind of sexy word to use for programmers these days. And I started off, believe it or not, right when mainframe computers. I started off programming on mainframe computers. Most people, millennials, won't even know what that is. And so I started off when PCs were just being phased in bit by bit. We started off with DOS. We didn't even know there anything called Microsoft at the time. So that is how far back I go in the industry, right? And so I transitioned through the years from programmer to technical support to managing a help desk. And from there, I went into project management and business analysis. And I just kept, moving from there until my last position was a senior management position. And after leaving that position, as a matter of fact, I was let go from that position. As many people have to be doing right now, we have to be thinking outside the box and reinventing ourselves. I reinvented myself, went away and studied in a completely different field from information technology. And it's one of the things that you may see in my title if you go to my website, an emerging filmmaker. And really, what does that have to do with anything I've done before? The fact of the matter is that my passion is writing. So I'm a published author twice over, with my own independent projects. And then I collaborated on another two, published poet and published author. And so I went away to study at Vancouver Film School, writing for film and television, and also film production in the process. How did I end up here as a leadership mentor? I was trying to find a way. I was mentoring people, and I wanted to find a way to make everything cohesive, of all that I've done over the years, of all that I've learned over the years. And I tried different titles and it didn't work. I connected with immigrant women in business, and it was there that Svetlana branded me as a leadership mentor, which I found works very well with everything else that I do. And so here I am today.
So let's backtrack a little bit. Let's backtrack because that's a lot of information I want my listeners to get into.
It's a whole heap. Okay.
So the main thing is that I remember. The main thing is, one, you're from Jamaica, but you still know how to cook. So that's it right there. The oxtail, as long as the oxtail is going, I'm good. So that's number one, right? Number two, you moved over and then you found out that, okay, doing like different jobs. Do you think those different jobs that you worked in actually helped you into the leadership role? Because if you're like on movie sets and all that stuff, you got to learn different things to help you get to this point.
Absolutely. Every job that I did was a part of the building blocks to where I am today. When I was in Montreal, the first job I did as a 17-year-old in Montreal was babysitting. And what did babysitting? You're leading somebody's child in one way, shape, or form, whether you want to believe it or not. And you had to learn to be patient with the little ones, because sometimes you're telling them to do something and they're just not hearing you right then. And you have to do it in such a way that you get them to comply without, losing your temper, without being too aggressive and being, becoming angry with them. You have to do it in a way where they will listen to you. And so even there, leadership skills had to be present. My second job outside of that was working in a factory. And what was I doing? I was assembling toys in a factory while I was going to college. And so I would go to classes from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. And then I left school around 2:30 p.m. to get to work for 3, because I didn't work too far away. And I assembled toys in a factory from 3 p.m. until 11 p.m. at night. And again, what was that teaching me to do? It was teaching me to think outside the box. A lot of the things that we did, we had to follow certain instructions in how to assemble those toys and send them off. But there were times when things weren't working according to plan, and we had to think on our feet how to do things in order to get that order out for the next day. So I learned a lot working on that assembly line. Number one, how to connect and communicate with people from different cultures, because we were all new immigrants coming in, right? So you had me from Jamaica, you had people from Saudi Arabia, you had people from Somalia, you had people from different areas, all new immigrants working in that place. And you had to know how to integrate, how to communicate, how to get along with different people, even if you're not speaking the same language. Some of them spoke very halting English, very, 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 very limited English vocabulary. And so you had to learn to be patient with them so that they can express themselves properly. But the fact of the matter is that we all had so much fun with each other, because we learned different things about each other's culture, right? In college, it was the same. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So let me ask. No, it's okay. Let me ask you this. Then, do you feel that a lot of us have leadership in us? Because, like you said, a lot of stuff that we do, but we're scared to go to that next level. Like you said, you might have a mom that has like 4 kids that are leading 4 kids, and then she leaves and does another job, and she's leading a team, which she doesn't really know she's leading the team. Her boss gives her a little extra work, and then she has to go leave from there, maybe go to a church function, and she's leading a whole bunch of ladies and men at a church function. We all do leadership, but do we know that we are leaders inside of us?
I think that the majority of people don't consider themselves leaders. I believe with all of my heart, and this is coming from my spiritual background and spiritual knowledge, that every single person on earth is created with a leadership potential inside of them. Okay. Some people gravitate to it normally and naturally, and it just it just pops out of them. For some people, it's something that has to be developed within them, right? You have to teach them how to believe in themselves. For example, you mentioned leading at church. One of the major leadership positions that I had in the past, I would say 10 years, is leading the women's ministry at the church that I used to attend, one of the churches I used to attend. And in that position, I chose a couple of ladies to be my co-chairs, right? In case I'm not there, they can step in and do certain things. And one of them kept saying, don't choose me, don't choose me. I'm not a leader. I prefer to sit in the back. And I said, you're the perfect candidate for this, because if I'm any kind of leader, then I'm going to help you to step into this position and do it properly. You know what I mean? Exactly. So yeah, there are a lot of people out there who just feel that they are not leadership material. And what I've found, Charles, is that people from nations that have been colonized in one way or another from slavery, they are the prime targets, or the prime ones who really feel that they're not leaders. They have this subservient attitude, and it's just something that was taught through the years, and it's a cycle that has to be broken. You know what I mean? They need to believe in themselves and believe that, hey, that slave mentality needs to stop. You're no longer slaves. Slavery was abolished a long time ago, and it's okay to rise up to your full potential and step into who you were created to be.
All right, so then let me stick a pin right there, and then we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back from break, the main thing I want to know is, how do we get to that point? So you're saying that we gotta come out of our comfort zone and dive in, but it's easier said than done. Right now, when we get back, how do we do that? Do we wake up every morning and say, "I'm a leader"? Or do we try something different, right?
That would be nice.
So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want you to tell us, what are the steps to becoming a great leader? We'll be right back.
Okay.
Immigrant Women in Business, IWB, is a non-profit organization bringing together women from over 50 different countries around the globe. These women have now made Canada their home and share a common goal of providing value to their new sisters. Our motto of "We are stronger together" resonates with all members, and with a diverse membership of business leaders, entrepreneurs and community builders, our goal is to make Canada better and provide guidance and leadership to those that follow.
CMJ Entertainment is a one-stop shop. CMJ Entertainment helps people do any type of events, and it's a marketing tool as well. So we'll cover everything from start to finish. If it's a wedding, we'll make sure your wedding is over the top. And if it's an event, we make sure that everybody gets information at the end of the day. Give us a call at 416-414-8964 or online, go to cmjent.com. Yes, and we're back. But before we move on, we have some listeners that are on the line. And I love my listeners. When you have a comment, please put it in. I'm going to get you on. We have one comment right here. There she is. And it says, reflection is good. And that's what it is. It's all about reflection while we're at home, reflection on what we're doing, what we're up to. And I think this is, to be honest with you, this is the best time I've had. Every day I wake up, I'm like, okay, I sit, I relax, I think about where I'm going and where I want to do. So it's absolutely fantastic. So thank you for typing that in. If you want to do a message, please don't hesitate. Put it in the comment section. You have a question, put it in. We'll get you on the air. So before we went to break, I asked you, what does it do? How do we become a leader? Like, I know a lot of people out there, maybe they don't want to be the full leader all the time, but they want to have the confidence that they know they can. Most times people just want to say, I just want that confidence so I know I can get on stage or do a presentation at work, or maybe, like you said, something simple at church that, they're looking for somebody to do a passage and I'm too scared to get up there and do it. Something simple like that. What can we do?
Okay, so I will take us back to when we were children. When we were kids, primary school, did you ever have to choose a team to play with you on breaks, on break time? I don't know. Did you go to school here in Canada? I'm not sure what it's like to go to school in Canada, but did you ever have to do that? I want you on my team, you on my team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So right there and then, you were in a leadership role, and guess what you were doing? You were hiring your employees, right? But we just never thought of it that way. You were hiring your employees. I want you to be on my team because I want you to be on my team because. Another thing, like you mentioned, the parent with the children, a mom is always in a leadership role. And so, that's why we should really applaud stay-at-home moms because they're in a leadership role all day. Yeah. Now, how does someone become a leader? Here's the thing. One of the most important things about leadership that we need to realize is that we're not necessarily here to lead people. And it sounds really weird to say that because it's people who follow you, right? So if you notice, I always say this, true leaders don't necessarily seek followers. How do they get people to follow them? People follow you when you are providing value. So there is something about you that you do, right? That's providing some value and it connects with certain people that, they're saying, oh yeah, I that's resonating with me. What he or she is doing is what I want to learn. What he or she is doing is, who I want to become. And so they gravitate toward you. So every single one of us. Mm-hmm. So every single one of us is a leader, and we're a leader over our own specific path of talent or gifting. And when you become good at that, then you start to add value, and then people start to take notice to you, and you begin to attract people around you, right?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I like that point because the main thing is that I think everybody thought that they had to change themselves and showcase themselves for other people for them to realize that they're a leader. But once you change yourself and bring value, you just better yourself, then other people look like and they go, you know something? Charles is doing something really good. Okay, let me gravitate to Charles. Whoa, Charles just did. He went to course. He got something else. He doing something else. Let's gravitate to Charles. So, what I'm getting from you is not about you trying to show everybody else, hey, I can be the leader. I can be the leader. You change yourself, and other people will gravitate to you. Am I correct on that?
You are absolutely correct, and I like that you say change yourself. Changing yourself comes in a couple of ways. We can go out and we can study something, for example, I went to study in alignment with my passion of writing. So I went off to Vancouver Film School and I came back. That's one way, and you can become really great in that particular area. Like a Steve Jobs, for example. Steve Jobs was the Apple man. You cannot think of Apple without thinking of Steve Jobs. That's his value that he left with humanity. And even after he's gone, you can see that his organization, or the part of him that he came to give is still here and it's still alive and it's still active even without him, right? The other part of changing yourself is you have to become in order to do. So you're going to now rise up in a position as a leader, but you have to understand that in that position, you're going to be faced with certain things like opposition. You're going to be faced with, people trying to steal or take your intellectual property. You have to know how to deal with being in a leadership position. So changing yourself from an intrinsic perspective is more important than even changing yourself outwardly. You have to number one, know who you are. And one of my things to say is your success or your, what is the thing that I say? Knowing who you are is the foundation of your success. Because once you know who you are, then it's difficult for someone to tell you who you aren't. You stop answering to names outside of who you are. You understand what I'm saying? When you know who you are, you know who you're not. And when you know who you are, that's where your confidence stems from. Because then it's not easy for somebody to knock you off of your chair anymore. because I know who I am. I've taken the time to develop myself intrinsically. I have learned certain things and strengthened my character in a certain way. I am providing value. I'm a woman or a man of integrity. And so now it's okay for me to really step up into that leadership role, right? So intrinsic change is even more important than the extrinsic change.
Right. Hold on. We have one comment here, and I want to just put these out here. So there you go. And she loves the point. It was on the line. True leaders don't seek out followers. I love that, Carl. Good questions, good answers. Thank you for putting out your points out there. Thank you for making a message on our phones, because we want to make sure that you're getting our points and you're listening. So thank you so much for following us up on that. So here's the other thing too then. Okay, so how do we change that next level? How do we go to that next level and we say, okay, I understand what you're saying. I got to change me. How do I know what to change about me? So some things think, well, I'm great at this. I'm already perfect at this, or maybe I got to change this. How do we know what to change?
Well, who says we're perfect in anything? I think we're all perfectly imperfect, number one, but that's okay. I don't think they're, in terms of perfection, every human being, I believe, is perfect in your own way. However, we all are flawed. Now, do you understand what I mean? Even with your flaws, you're perfect for who you were created to be, right? It's the flaws now. You're going to look at the flaws and say, okay, is this flaw going to hold me back? Or is it something that I can live with that makes me unique, right? Because it's not everything about you that you have to change. And just because someone say you have a flaw doesn't mean that that's true. How do you know what needs to be changed? Who do you have around you that you trust to tell you the truth, right? Because sometimes what we have blind spots. There are things about us that we don't realize. And so it takes people in our lives to point out some of those things. And you have to be humble enough and willing enough to listen, right? Them pointing something out to you is not saying that you're a bad person. That's part of helping you to know those areas where you need to grow and change, right? A lot of the times, I will tell you this. I didn't just wake up one morning and step into a leadership position. There were many things that I had to change, and there were many things that I had to go through. As a young girl, I think I did my first public speech at the age of 6. And so I always had people around me who were pushing me because they saw my potential. They were always pushing me to do things. In my teenage years, all of that bravado went away, and I became, I had low self-esteem. All of the confidence was lost. I didn't believe in myself anymore. And there was something that triggered that. So many people are living with traumas in their lives that are causing them to shrink back and to hold back. You understand? The major thing that happened in my life that caused me to get to that place was that I was sexually molested. And after being sexually molested, it's a traumatic situation for a young girl, and you have to deal with all the emotional and psychological and physical things that comes with that. And I needed a lot of help to get past that stage. One of the major ways that affected me was that I was always at the top of my class. I was always in the top 3. If I wasn't first, I was second or third, and I never went beyond third. After I was sexually molested, I fell from the top of my class to 13th place in my class. So you see how, something major like that can have an impact on someone. So some of the things that you need to deal with in your life are the traumas that have happened, whether as a child or even as an adult. Some people are living in abusive situations since they were children. Some people went into abusive situations as adults. And those things will now, become actors upon your personality and your confidence. And they begin to become, chains or ropes or tethers that start to hold you back and make you lose confidence and belief in yourself. And so what you need to do is to find someone who you trust to mentor you through that process, to help you to come back, right? If you're not going to do that, then you're going to live with that. And a lot of people internalize those things and they become bitter. Other people are seeking help in order to step out of those places because they know, there is more in me. And you get to that place in you where you know that, even though this happens to me or this happened to me, that's not who I am. That's not all of who I am. One of the biggest things that I had to understand from that is to say, you know what, that thing happened to me, but it was not my fault. I didn't go out there looking for it. Someone who should have known better, someone who should have been a protector, someone who was an adult should have looked at me as a child and not done what they did. And so I had to start taking back my power from that perspective, right? And so there, you just have to, traumas are major things. And then there are the other little blind spots like I talk about. You have to be willing to listen to people to say, you know what, there is this thing about you that if you don't deal with it, such and such and such is going to happen, right? So there are a lot of things to deal with when it comes to that.
So I've been writing down some points here, and the one that resonated high with me was that you said that we have to be okay to listen, to take the criticism, because a lot of times we don't want to hear when someone says you were great, but you could change this and this and this. Automatically we get defensive. Automatically we're like, wait, what do you mean? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, and it's not about doing anything wrong. It's about doing something better. So that's number one thing that I want to make sure that everybody heard, that when people are telling you something, take it as a grain of thought and just say, okay, you know something? Maybe there is something about what she's saying or what he's saying I can do better. So I like that point. And the second point that you made, that is that don't be a prisoner in your own mind. Basically, yes, there's things that are going to happen to you in your life. Everybody, it might not be as dramatic as yours. It might be something less. It might be even more dramatic. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that, okay, we have to move on to be the great leader that we are. We have to break out of the chain and move forward. So that was two great points that I took from this and say, yes, this is great. So yes, I like that. I love those points a lot. Okay. So
thank you so much.
Before we go, I had your website up. I want to put some information up and right now. And while I'm doing that, tell us how the process works real quick before I let you go. Do we call you first? Do we go through a process? Do we go to your website? Do we email you? How does it work?
Now, if someone wanted to connect with me, or if they're looking for consulting services, I do offer consulting services on my website. They can actually go there and book through the website. My calendar and everything is visible for them. They can choose a time and then it will come to me by email. I am also open to getting emails, but in terms of consultation and all of that, it's better to go through the website.
Okay. And I'm just going to pull up your phone number real quick right there, because sometimes what people don't know is they want to know, am I a great fit? I get this a lot with all my guests. People call and say, should I call her? Should I not call her? Is it for me? Is it not for me? How do you know until you call? That's the main thing.
That's true.
Just call and find out.
That's what the consultation services are for. All right, we do a 15 to 30 minute consultation with you, and then I'm very honest. If what you're dealing with is beyond my level of expertise, then I will recommend you to someone else.
All right. So before I let you go, we have something that we always like to do. It is called the Queen Wave. It's called the thank you. Do your shout outs. Anybody out there that you want to say thank you to or say hi to? Maybe somebody in Jamaica is watching. You want to say, hey, this is your opportunity.
I would like to say thank you to all the people who have, been supporting me in this journey to where I am today. It's, it's always an uphill battle when you're building a business from scratch. So thank you to all the people who supported me, immigrant women in business, my Blower India, all my church community, my close friends, Nadine, Jamila, Annika, my family members who are always there for me, especially my dad in Jamaica. Now I'll do the Queen Wave for that. I'm so in love with my dad. I love him so much. He's always my biggest supporter. And so I want to say thank you, Daddy. Love you so much. And thank you for everything that you've been pouring into me since I was a little girl. Just thank you for being there all the time. And thank you, Charles, for having me on the show today.
Not a problem. I thank you so much. You take care, be safe, and we'll talk to you next time.
Okay, take care too. Be well.
Listen, it's right there. You can be a leader. It's all about yourself, and leadership comes in different aspects. 1 second before I go, I want to make sure I get this person on the line. It's a great person. Derek. There you go, Derek. Thank you for watching and thank you for coming in. He says, keep up the great work. He loves what you're doing. And there you go. Thank you, Derek, for tuning in. So here it is. Oh, one more. I'll make sure that I want to make sure all my fans get on there. So I'm going to drop this one on there as well. Thank you. There you go. So there it is. So once again, thank you for watching. If you want more information, please do give her a call. Love to get some information. Leadership is key, and how we are today and what we're doing. We all have leadership in us. We all have that spirit in us. And sometimes we just need someone to help us out. And she is a great person to do that. Make sure you give her a call. Find out what you up to. What's your main thing? You can do it. Like I always say, you didn't have to watch, but you did. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. See you later.
Has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.
Please be advised that this podcast is meant for educational and informational purposes only and is in no way a replacement for legal or medical advice. The opinions contained within are solely those of the interviewers and interviewees and should be received as so. Those seeking help or advice are encouraged to obtain professional legal and medical services.